DJ Metal Craig of Craig's Metal Room here, and I have one of the members of hirax with me today. Hey, how's it going? And would you like to introduce yourself and what position you do in the band?
Hello, I'm Katon from Hirax. I'm the lead vocalist. Started the band back in 1984.
Right on. And if you are cool with it, would you mind going back in the history of hirax and how the band all got started?
Yeah, we started back in basically early, like 83, 1983. Started out as LA Chaos, changed our name to Hirax. Right around that time, we were playing gigs with bands like Metallica. Striper hadn't changed their name yet, but they were called Rock's Regime. So we came out of the same area as all those bands, including Armored Saint, Savage Grace, Dark Angel, a lot of Los Angeles bands, Slayer. So, it was just a good scene to come out of it. And then we just started getting our demos out there. We had a demo tape that got out there, and Brian Slagle, the owner and president of Metal Blade Records, ended up getting our tape and signing us. That's how we got the record deal. So
Right.
those were our early beginnings. Was we did the first two records were released on Metal Blade Records.
Right on, man. That's so awesome because I've been a fan of you guys since the 80s when you got started. I had a copy of the album we're going to talk about later in the interview. That was a reissue, the one that you guys had done titled, I'm just finding the name of it right now. Just give me a second
Raging
here.
Violence.
Yep, Raging Violence. That's the one. I had an original that when it came out, somebody swiped the damn album off me. Buggers.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that. A lot of people would lose their records at parties.
It happens. So when you're dumb and drunk, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
How did you guys come up with the band name for the band Hirax?
Actually, we were rehearsing at our drummer's house, and we were trying to think of names. We wanted to come up with something, different, something a little bit more creative. And I actually went into the restroom and I saw this wallpaper on the wall that it was basically said Hyrax, but it was a couple of meanings for the name Hyrax. And one of the meanings was it was a repellent for killing mosquitoes. And I thought that was awesome. I was like, something that kills mosquitoes is a great name for a band. And then the other meaning was an animal. There's an animal that's called a hyrax, which actually looks a little bit kind of like it's a mix between like a rabbit and I don't know, man, like a squirrel. It's just a crazy looking little animal. But the thing that's really bizarre about it is it's related to the elephant, and it looks nothing like an elephant.
Oh wow, I never
Yeah,
knew that, man.
yeah. So that's kind of when I thought about those two meanings, I thought it would be a really cool name for a band. But that's basically how I came up with it. When I came out of the room, I said to the guys, "What do you think of the name Hyrex?" And they were all, "It sounds good." We've been using it ever since 1984.
Awesome. This next one might stump you a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it. Who designed the Hirax band logo?
Oh, that won't stump me at all. We The original logo was drawn by me. It wasn't very good. It was just a kind of a stick figure logo. And then Tom G. Warrior from Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, he saw our logo and he didn't really like it. So he said, "Hey, do you mind if I draw you guys a logo?" And I was like, "Give it a shot." So 2 weeks later in the mail, a logo showed up from Tom G. Warrior, and it was the new Hyrax logo. And we've been using that same logo from then until now. We've been using it the whole time. But yeah, so the logo was designed by Tom G. Warrior.
That's cool, man. Funny
Yeah.
thing you mentioned Tom G. Word because back in 2004, when I was still in the problem of addiction and alcoholism, I met Tom G. Ward here at a Celtic Frost show here in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Wow.
We talked about some cool books like the Necronomicon and some other interesting books that he was into.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He is a great guy, I should say.
Yeah, he is. Real cool, dangerous guy. He, when we were at the show, ignored some of the other people who were attending the show, talked to me after the show for almost half an hour before the security bouncer said, "Shut it down. I got to get you guys all out of here."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to get into the next question of the interview if you're cool with it.
Yeah.
Who's all in the current hirax lineup, and what instruments do they play?
Yes, there's Chris Aguilera. He plays bass guitar, and he's a very talented musician. He plays a few different instruments, but he plays bass and hirax now. And on guitar, we have Neil Metcalf. He plays guitar. Youngest musician in the band. He's age 27, but very talented guitar player. So we're lucky to have him, as well as Danny Walker, an excellent drummer, and he's playing with us. And so we have a pretty strong lineup. I'm pretty proud of everybody we have in the band. We're fortunate that we were able to somehow everything aligned and this band has come together. So now it's just a matter of putting out music to prove the worthiness of the band, you know?
I guess you're there, man. And it's so cool to talk to you today, man. Like I'm
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
for me, it's like I just really care about the music. So it's like to take it to the next level with some musicians that can, actually play at that kind of a level is awesome. It's a new horizon. So I can't wait to get the new album out. Right now, we're actually recording it in Los Angeles, the sixth studio album. That's what we're working on right now.
So awesome, man. By the way, just so you know, I'm a vocalist myself for the death metal, black metal scene.
That's awesome.
Old DSI style, man.
That's awesome.
I've been doing that since I was 16. I'm 47 now. Haven't thrown out my voice yet.
Right on.
And you know what the thing is that I have a little trick as myself for a vocal pointer, which I use when I'm practicing. I'll do a week on, take 2 to 3 weeks off, then go back at it again so I don't damage my throat too badly.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, some people don't think of that. They just go, go, go. Next thing you know, they got laryngitis or they completely destroyed their voice with it.
I hear you.
Yeah. How did you guys come with the band's first full length and now reissued album, Raging Violence, and how were the reviews perceived for this album?
So you're talking about the Raging Violence album?
Yeah, and the
The
reissue that
basically
Armageddon
that
did.
record was, yeah, Raging Violence was based off of I really like horror movies and stuff like that, especially of the 70s and 80s. So I'm kind of one of those kids that grew up on that. So that's kind of what the concept of the record's based off of. And there's a lot of subjects intertwined through the record, but that's just a real fun way to look at horror movies and Raging Violence, especially in the 80s. That was kind of when you would see a violent horror movie. That's what you witnessed. But through the record, there's like I said, a lot of different types of scenarios and titles and stuff. But that was a fun time. I mean, that was 1985. That was a long time ago. And to see that those records are still being repressed and reissued is awesome. Like I would have never thought. It blows my mind that almost 40 years later, like 2 more years, those records are gonna be 40 years old.
Oh wow, that is amazing, man.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, for a thrash metal band to still even be remembered, that was an underground band. To have the record still being reissued almost 40 years later, that's amazing.
And if you're cool with it and are okay talking about it, I'm also a horror film fanatic myself. Over here on my wall in my studio, in my
Yeah,
bookshelf, I got
yeah,
almost 300 original horror films. Some dating back to the old 70s, 80s, all the way up to 2012 or 2013. Some of them. And I got a
yeah.
few comedies in there for the girlfriend as well. Just she's
Right.
not too much of a horror fan herself.
I get it.
Yeah. But this next two that I'm going to get you to talk about off the album, they're my two favorite songs that I jammed off this album, and they brought back memories when I heard them.
Okay,
Bombs of Death and Bloodbath, and what were the themes and concepts behind those songs?
that's awesome. Yeah, those are two. I mean, I always gonna have different favorites, but those are two of my absolute favorites off that first record. Uh, to me, Bloodbath is a deep cut, so that's awesome that you brought that up. Really cool song. And Bombs of Death is still this day one of the songs that we have to play when we play live. Like it's still to this day where the fans still yell "Bombs of Death," and it's a staple in our live set.
Right on. And when you guys come up to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, you guys do get up here for a show. Hopefully, I'll see you there.
Totally, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can bring my black metal buddy Mike with me to the show that day if you guys are in town.
Be honored to meet him, man. That'd be awesome.
If you had a favorite song to choose off the album Raging Bunch, what song would your personal favorite for this album from 1985 be?
Man, that's a hard question. I mean, there's when I listen to the record, it's different emotions. I think like the fans too. I'm a lot like the fans, so I mean, a sentimental favorite would be "Bombs of Death," but that was also the first song that we ever really released. I mean, it came out on Metal Blade's Metal Massacre 666. When Metal Blade Records was putting out these really amazing compilations, we were on some of the first ones of those. So, "Bombs of Death" was one of the first tunes. But I mean, when you go back and you look at your career, a lot of those songs have special moments in your life. I mean, I played "Bombs of Death" in Germany. I played it all over the world, Japan, South America. So it's like it's kind of a sentimental favorite.
Awesome, man. And this next one is a good one, too. How did you come up with the title for Raging Violence?
Just when we were trying to think of titles for the record, we started going through the song titles because that's always a good way to do it. A lot of bands do that. And I just thought, well, I kind of want the title to represent what the music sounds like. And to me, the record itself sounds like Raging Violence. So I thought that was the perfect title, and that's what we ended up going with. And it still sticks with us to this day. That's one of our biggest selling records.
Wow, that's awesome. And I loved the CD when I had it. It was such an intense album. It was one of the favorite of mine off there. I can't remember the name of the song right now, but it was the fourth track on the CD.
Jeez. Even for me, like going back and exactly knowing each track is tough. Because like I said, that was almost 40 years ago. But I mean, trying to think if I can look around here and find a record real quick. Let me see. Give me a second. I think I
Yeah,
can.
no problem.
I got you. Luckily, I have a copy right here of the reissue. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you're talking about. You said the fourth track?
Yep.
That's "Bombs of Death," buddy.
Oh, shoot. I already mentioned that one. My
Yeah,
other
"Bombs of
favorite,
Death," and
besides
you
my back, would be number 7.
okay. "Call of the Gods."
Yeah, that one was a good one for me. Partially because of the fact that it was a little bit, I felt, uh, an attack on religion, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for us, okay, the thing that a lot of people didn't realize about hirax, this is a good way to talk about that, was that back then a lot of bands were doing the black metal thing even before it was called black metal. And we love that stuff too. I mean, I listen to Venom, I listen to Bathory, I love all that stuff, especially the early shit. But we also thought that was kind of a trend, and we didn't really want to follow that. So we wrote more about like either, both sides of the coin. Like, we weren't just writing about bad; we're also writing about good. There's always a lot more subject matter than people really throw out there. So, for us, it wasn't just one sided, and that's kind of what hirax has always been about: both sides of the coin. So that's really what's going on with those songs. But we listen to everything. We listen to Slayer. We listen to Trouble. Trouble was a little bit more on that side too. If you go back and you listen to the early Trouble records, they were kind of writing from a little bit more of the same standpoint.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It was Trouble. My favorite song they did, I saw a video for it back when it was on Power 30 back in the 80s. End of my days.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, that song was great.
Yeah,
Just
totally. I
such
agree.
awesome. This next one is a bit of a good one. I don't know if you'll
Okay.
be able to answer it though. Who designed the Raging Violence album art?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a guy named Pusshead. He worked with Metallica. He worked with the Misfits, Sam Hain, a lot of punk bands. Yeah, that was Pusshead. He worked with a lot of great bands. I'm sure he still is. He worked with Aerosmith. He worked with everybody. We were one of his earlier bands. Like he designed the Hirax record at the same time that he designed the Corrosion of Conformity Animosity record. Us and those, the Corrosion of Conformity record and the Hirax Raging Violence record were designed right around the same time.
That's so cool. I'm also a fan of Corrosion of Conformity. I like that's my personal favorite. The one with a bullet on it.
Hmm. I'd have to look that up. It's been a while since I looked at their album covers.
I think it's the album Blind or the one titled Eye for an Eye.
Eye for an Eye was great,
Yeah, it was.
big time.
Yeah. We're going to jump further into your discography and get into one of the newer albums you did before the newest stuff comes up.
Okay.
Hopefully, I get the name right for this one because it's in a foreign language. How did you guys come up with the band's full length El Rostro de la Muerte? And what
Pretty
were the
good.
reviews behind this album, like
Yeah,
in
that's not too
2009?
bad. You did pretty good on that. That's El Rostro de la Muerte. It takes time with any language, whenever you're learning any language, whether it's English or Spanish, Espanol, whatever it is. But we travel quite a bit. So luckily for us, we've been able to go to other countries and, for us to see heavy metal fans that are from everywhere, different places is awesome. Going to Germany, going to places like Norway, Sweden. So, you start picking up other cultures, names, and languages and stuff. That record was fun, man. I think that was 2000, probably somewhere around 2009, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. I think it was 2009.
I think
Uh,
it might have been the same too, man.
I'm pretty sure. Even I have to look that one up. Isn't that what's great about this freaking technology? You can do it at the drop of a hat. Let's see. Let's see. You just go to Google, Hyrax band. Find Hyrax band. Go to discography. Discography takes you to El Rostro de la Muerte. Yep, 2009.
Sweet. So we both had the right year on that one.
Yeah, that was our fourth studio album. Yeah, good
Yep.
time. We did that record and then we toured a lot. We toured a lot through South America. We went to obviously Mexico City. So we kept kind of busy at that time. It was a lot of work, but it was totally fun.
The next one is about the album art for Rostro de la Muerte.
Yeah, that was
Who
Ed
designed it?
Ripka. Originally, we had Derek Riggs from Iron Maiden. He did our album cover artwork for that record, but when we got it, believe it or not, we rejected it. We didn't like it at all. Uh, so then we actually had to sign a thing with him where we wouldn't show anybody the artwork, but he would, take care of everything so everything was cool. But we just never did the artwork with him, so we switched from Derek Riggs to Ed Ripka, and Ed Ripka did the artwork for El Rostro de la Muerte. And then we really liked what Ed Ripka he came up with. Like when we saw the finished artwork, we loved what he did. So that was Ed Ripka, but he's worked with a lot of people. If you look up Ed Ripka, he's done like Megadeth, he's Municipal Waste. He's done a ton of bands.
Municipal
Yeah,
Waste is another
I
one.
believe he's done Death. He's done a lot of stuff.
That's so cool, man. And Municipal Waste is another favorite band of mine. I actually listen to them at times too.
Right on.
Yeah. This next one too are going to be good ones because they're from the album and two of my personal favorite songs off Rostro de la Muerte.
Okay.
What were the themes and concepts behind songs Chaos and Brutality and the song Broken Neck?
Wow, that's a good question. Broken Neck was a track that we had been doing live, and we'd actually done on a previous record. It was on an EP called Barrage of Noise. But we knew that we wanted to re-record it. We do that quite a bit. You know, we'll do a new record, but we'll always do some like old song from one of the old records because now also with technology and the way you can record, we just want to see if we can do it better. And sometimes that it's a double-edged sword because some fans love it or some fans don't. Some people love the originals. Some people like the remakes. But we redid that, and actually it was great that we did it. And then we did a video for it. So there's a video for Broken Neck, and it was a smart move to re-record that song, and it deserved it because the song's very strong. So then, what was the other one Oh, you mentioned Chaos and Brutality. So
Yeah.
that shows you're like a deep cuts guy, which is great. That's a deeper one of our tracks, but really love that song. Uh, it's just balls to the wall metal. We wrote that at one of our rehearsals where we just got the riff going and we liked the way it sounded. We just kept going and it morphed into a really nice song. But that was like out of a jam at one of our practice sessions.
I so didn't know that, but that's cool how you guys developed that song. That's a personal favorite of mine for that album.
Right on.
Yeah. If you had to pick a favorite track off this album from 2009, which song would it be you like the best from Rostro to La Morte?
That's a great question. Really good question, man. On that record, we had a lot of cool things that we did, and a lot of people don't know this that we also sent that record to Brazil to have the drums done because some of the drum tracks we didn't like, so we actually sent it off to Brazil and had a drummer that we love and trusted over there named Fabricio Ravelli, who's a brilliant drummer. We had him put the drum tracks to it. And he took it into the studio and had it cranked through the system, and he played drums to it, and turned out amazing. And then the tracks came back from Brazil, and we released it. But when I remember getting the record back, for me, the song that really stood out, there's a song on there called "Baptized by Fire," and I really love that track. But I like Broken Neck. I believe Broken Neck's on there too. But we also do a cover of, we redo another song called Blind Faith. And the way we did Blind Faith on El Rostro de la Muerte is really good too. I think it's probably the heaviest version of it we've ever done.
Sweet man. And just so you know, I've heard both Blind Faith versions. I like the remake one, which is a little bit better sound wise, a lot heavier in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that.
This next one is going to be a real thinker of a question. What are the band's immediate music career goals?
Well, to survive, I mean, the main thing is it's not about the money, but it's also about paying bills. So if you can at least survive, and also keep your integrity in check, like a lot of bands sway or they'll try to maybe compromise their sound to fit in with whatever is real popular right now. But if we can keep our integrity, survive, just by touring and putting out good records, that's really what the long term goal is. Like we don't have a short term. It'd be like make as much money as you can and get out of the game. But for us, it's more about year after year being consistent. I think if you can do that, your fans will stick with you. Your fans love you if you stay consistent and keep putting out records from the heart. No bullshit, no filler. I think the new record's going to totally prove that. This is our first new record in 9 years. So, like, just integrity, maintain integrity, do your own business. We run our own business. We're not a big corporation and we're proud of that. This is the real shit.
Right on. This next one's a real good one. Who are some of the band's musical influences?
Wow. I mean, I think that goes from when you're a kid until you get older, because you're constantly like a sponge taking music in. But our earliest influences, there's not going to be a ton of surprises. I mean, there's always every musician and artist has certain stuff that'll blow you away that you wouldn't see coming. But off the top of my head, the normal stuff would be bands like Black Sabbath and the Ramones, Motorhead, Venom, shit like that. Deep Purple, Thin Lizzy. You know, Judas Priest, obviously. I mean, if you don't mention that band, you're crazy. They're somewhere in there. You know, but we also grew up on rhythm and blues and blues music, 70s rock, a lot of 70s rock. You know, I mean, if I didn't mention Montrose or Led Zeppelin, you know, Blackfoot. There's so many bands from the '70s that we all grew up on. You know, so there's a band called Pat Travers Band that we grew up on. So I mean, we just basically take all those influences, and then the British new wave of heavy metal kind of opened up the door more too, because once that started happening with bands like Iron Maiden and Saxon, it just kind of tipped the scales. But when thrash metal came around, though, it became the next beast. Like from all this the heavy metal bands that we got out of the British New Wave and all the American bands like Riot and Manowar and the Rods and Twisted Sister and all that shit. Then you got thrash metal came up like a beast, and thrash metal's almost, I think it's like 40 years old now. That's crazy to even think about. I mean, it might even be a little bit older than 40 years.
That's quite interesting and awesome, man. I was a fan of thrash metal myself. I started off in heavy metal stuff like Maiden, King Diamond, Priest. I was into some of the old stuff like Savage you mentioned, and one that not many people know from the '70s that I listened to was a. I don't even remember the band name right now because it slipped my mind. It was an alien band name from the '70s. I'd have to look them up off my system with your time because I know I have it. I just don't remember the name off the top of my head of the band right now.
Talking about Angel.
No, a band that had an alien band name that was a psychedelic rock band from the '70s.
Hawkwind.
Hawkwind I know of, but this band, hold on, I'll just quickly see if I can find it in my psychedelic
You got
rock.
me
If that'll
going
your word
off. I'm
for it.
like trying to think who it is. Who the fuck is it?
Yeah, come on, load up, you stupid computer. Wrong drive.
It's all good.
I got 4 hard drives of music on this PC.
I get you. But I think the thing is all those influences made us what we are. So um, those are just some of the influences. But I mean, when you listen to a lot of different music, which is what I was around, because where I grew up, there were a lot of different people. So we listened to everything from metal to hard rock to funk. I mean, because even in the '70s, there were a lot of funk bands. There were the Ohio Players and all that kind of shit. So,
I see, and I found the name of the band. I just don't know what year it is.
and then hard rock bands that were kind of funky. I mean, you remember Grand Funk Railroad?
Yeah, I do.
So there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on too, as well as newer bands like AC/DC coming up, like 1974, 76. A lot of those bands started popping off.
Okay, I get you, man. I found the name of the band while looking while you're talking there. Do you know a band called Alien Staff 10?
You mean Alien Sex Fiend?
No, Alien Staff 10. They did an album called Probe.
Nah, never heard of them.
They're actually pretty wild. I have this album on my PC for them.
Cool. Right
You
on.
have to check it out at some point. It's actually pretty good psychedelic rock, man.
I'll have to look into it.
Okay. Oh yeah, we were talking about the band's musical influences just there. Does the band have any band gear endorsements?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, it's been everywhere from like Jackson to all the different drum companies and different cymbal companies. I mean, it also changes with whoever's playing with you as a band, because each guy has certain companies they like working with. So yeah, there's endorsements. The thing about endorsements is it's like a trip. It's a slippery slope, because when you're touring, sometimes some of those instruments aren't available, or say if something happens where your guitars get misplaced, because that happens too. When you're flying, sometimes if the guitars get lost, so you might not have your guitar for that one day, and you're playing a gig. Your endorsement wants you to play those guitars, so sometimes that doesn't happen. So you got to deal with that kind of shit. But I mean, it's good, because who doesn't want either free gear or a discounted gear? Every musician loves that shit.
I guess yeah, man. I'm actually for my vocals trying to get endorsed by the Shure microphone company when I can do it.
I hear what you're saying.
I have a Shure 87A beta cardioid microphone.
Right on.
That thing is powerful, man. Like I use it on stage.
So,
Funny,
you read me
funny,
good.
funny thing is, when I was doing my vocals on stage with that thing, I had the mic about that far away from me, doing a high driving course style streak I do, and I blew the PA speaker out.
Hmm, that's amazing.
Like that's how powerful my lungs are for vocals. I learned to do it without the mic, so I kind of learned to adjust my volume levels with the mic. Or I'm
Right
gonna go
on.
with a PA speaker all the time. It's kind of funny.
I hear you.
What are some of your favorite moments when on tour?
Oh, many. Uh, just meeting the people from different countries. How can you not love that? Especially hearing the different languages. I really appreciate hearing people talk in their native tongue. So, like, when we're traveling, even through, say, France, it's just cool to hear the French speak, or, when you're in Switzerland, there's so many different languages. But I like touring. Japan's awesome. I mean, it's a very beautiful country, very clean. Going to Sweden, Norway. Norway's fantastic. My wife's from Norway. I just like traveling in general, even when it's in the States, going to Texas, New York City. We're really lucky as a band. I mean, there are a lot of bands that have fans. We have some really amazing fans everywhere we go. So it's just really nice meeting them every time we hit the road.
That's cool, man. This next
Yeah.
one is a good one. Where have you toured?
Wow. Almost all of South America. I think we've only not done like Uruguay. Um, I think, yeah, like Uruguay, and there might be one other territory we haven't done in South America, but South America is always good for us. The United States is cool. Like I said, New York, Boston, places like that. Uh, California, where we're from, all the way up the coast, up to San Francisco. The Bay Area is nice always to play. Los Angeles is our home turf, so obviously we love playing in Los Angeles. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things when we travel, we're just everywhere we go, we love. It's hard to say that one place is better than the other because they're all fantastic. I mean, you wake up in Brazil, it's awesome. You wake up in Chile, it's awesome. You wake up in New York City, it's awesome. So what could be there's nothing to complain about. We're lucky everywhere we go.
That's awesome, man. Just so you know, in regards to my influences, like this is an original CD I bought off eBay, I think it was. Cost me
Yeah.
40 Canadian. But have you seen those guys before or heard of them? General Surgery.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's one of those bands that's legendary, but some of that stuff's just hard to find.
I
So
know sometimes,
you gotta kind of go on the internet to track it down.
yeah, I've been lucky with a couple of albums I got, like a couple of Broken Hope albums I was looking for. I found them secondhand in a store here in my city called Into the Music over on McDermott.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got
If you have
700.
an awesome record store that's local and they can provide the metal that you're looking for, that's killer.
Yeah, it is. I got almost 700 original CDs over here in my arsenal, on top of almost 500,000 songs on my PC for music.
I believe you.
Like I've been building my arsenal for the last 8 years. I've been DJing for.
That's badass.
Started back in November 1st of 2014, I believe it was.
Right on. Yeah,
Yeah,
DJing takes it's a skill, man. It's not everybody can do it. You got to have the skills.
I get you there, man.
Right on.
Uh, who have you toured with that you can remember off the top of your head?
Raven, right off the top of my head, just because they were awesome to tour with, and the two brothers, John and Mark, are just like the most amazing people, and they work really hard, and so they're inspiring. So Raven would be right off the top of my head. Nothing but mad respect for them. Uh, I don't know, man. I mean, we've been on the road with Exodus. Exodus are great guys, and they work really hard. So I always have a lot of respect for the bands that bust their ass, and Exodus is one of them. So but we played shows with pretty much everybody. Played with Death Angel, Dark Angel, Slayer. I mean, we played with a lot of bands over the years. Festivals, bands like Twisted Sister and Dio. So, we've been very fortunate. Judas Priest back, we played in Sweden with them at a festival. So, it's just an honor when you get to do that, especially when it's bands that are heroes of yours, like where you're a fan and you get to play with a band that you're a fan of. It's really cool. But touring, it's a lot of work. So, like I said, back to touring with bands like Raven and people like that. It's just it's awesome because you get to see their work ethic.
I guess I'm hoping eventually to be on tour when I get myself a record deal, get my band back going after an 18-year hiatus. I want to tour with bands like DSI, Cannibal Corpse, possibly Cattle Decapitation, Origin, and some of the black metal scene, and you guys when I get a chance, because I
That'd be
really want to
awesome.
show off things with being with you guys and see if our band has energy to match up with you guys.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we just did a show not too long ago with DSI. They're still fucking great. Such a good band.
Yeah, I met Glenn Benton back in, I think it was 2014 or 2016. They've only been to Winnipeg, Manitoba once for a show at the Pyramid Cabaret.
Right on. You should check out a band called Suitor.
Which
Have you
one
heard
was it?
Suitor yet?
Don't think I have.
Suitor from Norway. You should look them up. They're badass.
I'll check them out for sure then.
You trust me, you'll fucking love them.
Okay, there's a depressive black metal band you should check out. They do songs that aren't under 10 minutes, most of their songs. They got a 2-song album that's got an 18-minute and a 24-minute song on it. A band called Make a Change, Kill Yourself, from the depressive black metal scene.
Right on. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay. There are some reissues coming out for some of the hirax releases. We might talk about what formats these issues are being pressed on and when we can expect them available.
Well, they just got released. That's why my fists are up in the air right now. The first 2 records have just been reissued on vinyl, red and gray, through what's that? Armageddon. Yeah, I got to think of that real quick because I got to get used to saying that because they're doing such a great fucking job. I got to give a shout out to Armageddon Records for kicking ass with these records. And they got them out. They look great. They're high quality. They fucking, even the CDs come with lyrics. The vinyl comes with lyrics. So it's amazing to see. And also for the first time ever, Hate, Fear, and Power is on CD. So to see all these records on CD and back on vinyl, at the same time, because when they were originally released, they were only either on vinyl or there was a point to where they were only on CD. So now that they're both out on both formats, like I said, these records are nearly 40 years old. So, I mean, who would have ever thought an underground band like Hirax would still be being repressed almost 40 years later?
I get you there, man. And before we get into it,
like I said, Armageddon Records is doing an amazing job with it. So it's good stuff.
yeah, before we get into the next set of questions, I'd like to thank Armageddon Records and Nathan for the PR side of things for our interview today, buddy.
Hell yeah.
What are some of the band's plans for the foreseeable future? Any plans on a new hirax album besides these reissues?
You asked a motherfucking good question, man. There you go. God damn it. Nice. So, new record we're working on right now here in Los Angeles. It's going to be our best record to date. And I'm not just saying that. Every band always says, and even I've said it before, this is going to be our best record. But this record, there's a difference in it. So I think when people hear it, it's hirax, definitely. But it's a kind of an amped up, ramped up, on fire version of hirax. And we put a lot of work into this record and we're still working hard on it. It's a real labor of love. So the new record right now, it's tentatively titled Faster Than Death, and it's 9 songs. 8 are brand new. 1 is a re-recording of a song off of the first album called Warlord's Command. It was off of Rage and Violence, and so we redid that. Just to show people we can still play that shit. Like sometimes people don't think you can still play the first album or play songs off the first album. For us, it's always been a challenge to show people we can. But there's 8 brand new tracks on Faster Than Death, and including the title track, Faster Than Death. It's going to be produced by Bill Matoyer, who we've worked with before. We've worked with him for decades, and going back to Metal Blade Records, we've had a great relationship with Bill Matoyer, so he's perfect for us. He just mastered. There's going to be some demos that come out for the diehard fans, the people that know how to find this kind of stuff, that get on the internet and look up shit. But we've got a CD version of rehearsals that we did right before we went in to record the album. We went into rehearsal studios just to get the songs tight, and we put up an open, just one microphone, and recorded the rehearsals, and it came out great because, obviously technology is better now. So a digital mic in the middle of the room, live, we recorded everything live, all 9 songs, and then we gave a copy of the tapes to this guy in Germany, and he freaked out. He thought it was so good, he put it out on cassette, and now these other guys in Germany and another company in Japan are going to release it as a limited edition CD version of the rehearsals. So there'll be 500 of these copies made coming out in Germany and Japan, but I know they're going to import them into the States. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. But that's like a warm up before the official album comes out.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I would really hope to get a couple of tracks for airplay with this interview when we get to do the interview on air.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay? Cool, man. Do you have any plans on going on tour? And if so, what are the dates in the works so you can disclose that?
Yeah, we got some dates coming up. We're doing Lakeport, California, doing a festival up there with Mordred, a band called Blind Illusion, another band called The Boneless Ones, and there'll be a bunch of other bands. It's not like it is a festival, a 1-day festival up in Lakeport, and that's, when is that? June 17th, and then we're doing a bunch of other shows. We got a show with the Rods on the East Coast. I mean, most people need to look this stuff up if they want to check us out. They should go on Facebook or Instagram and just look up hirax. Pretty easy to find. There should be the tour dates or concert dates that are coming up. And we also are doing, we're going to be going to Australia. We're going to be doing a tour of Australia. That'll be up. They're getting ready to release the dates for that. And there's also a big show coming up for Mexico that they're getting ready to announce that it's going to blow everybody away. It's like a 3-day festival down in Mexico. And as well, we're going to be playing in Pittsburgh on my birthday, September 16th. It'll be my 60th birthday. And we're playing a festival, Immortal Metal Festival in Pittsburgh on September 16th, my 60th birthday.
That's awesome, man. And
Yeah.
I hope to hear some of the results from those shows at a later time. If you guys can get up some videos from it that you guys have done yourself at some point.
For sure. And, also when the new record's done, we already got the basic tracks done for the bass and drums. Those are finished. We still got the vocals and guitars to do here in LA. But when the new record's done, we'll definitely let you guys know. And you can get some tracks for your radio show.
Right on, man. This next one is a real good one. What are some of the band's favorite tracks to play live?
What are some of the what?
Band's favorite tracks to play live.
Well, like I said, obviously one of the fan favorites is Bombs of Death, but I'd say Blind Fate's in there. I mean, these are a lot of the songs here in the live show. There's a reason they're in there, because over the years, as you play, you can pretty much tell the fan favorites. And there's a song called El Diablo Negro, which is one of the biggest songs in the live show. That one always goes over real well. Man, there's so much. Like, even off of the second record, Hate, Fear, and Power, we do Hate, Fear, and Power off of there. Lightning Thunders off of that record. The Plagues off of that record. So it's always kind of fun to go back through the records. El Rostro de la Muerte, we do some tracks off that. Broken Neck, Baptized by Fire, so. And as you go, and then further on down the road, like we have a record called Immortal Legacy. That was the last record we did back in 2000, I think 12 or something like that. It's been 9 years, but anyways, Immortal Legacy. There's a song on there called Black Smoke that I love playing live. That's one of my favorites. Really love playing that live. So you just gotta go through your catalog of records. Now we're going on our sixth studio album. But when you go back through your records, you start picking out those live tracks.
Sweet, man. Please give some vocal tips or advice for starting out vocalists.
Well, I think also do what your body feels is right, because everybody's different. Like a lot of singers, I'll definitely give you how I feel from my standpoint, but really it's how you feel. Like some people, and it's a physical thing. So first off, you need your energy. If you're a singer, your instrument is your voice. So your voice needs rest. So like rest, believe it or not, try not to, do things that are too damaging to your voice, but that's kind of tough because a lot of musicians smoke and a lot of them drink. But water's always really good, getting rest, not talking too much before the show, because what happens at a lot of the shows, people want to talk a lot, but singers, like I said, their voice is their instrument, so they get tired from that. But just try to take good care of your voice. The better you take care of your voice, the better you'll sing. If you don't take care of your voice, the worse you'll sing. I mean, not sleeping, partying too much, like a lot of touring bands, if they party too much the next day, the singer sounds like shit because they didn't get sleep or they didn't get enough rest. So it really comes down to how much do you want to give your fans. Do you want to give your fans a great show? Then you'll get some rest. If you don't, the latter is the truth. If you stay up all night, you're going to sing like shit the next day.
I guess, yeah, man. I mean, I have difficulties myself, health wise. I have insomnia, so sometimes it's hard for me to sleep, which will make some shows a little bit difficult because if I'm up past 3 in the morning, I'm up by 8:30 easily.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, even for me, it's hard because we fly a lot. So we'll be flying for like 12 hours. And then when we land, we've got to show that same day. So it's kind of hard to be jet lagged and, not get that much sleep and then land in a country where you're higher up too, where the altitude's really high up. It's harder to breathe. The air's thinner. So there's a lot of things that play into the factors when you travel and you're playing different shows. And also, since we're from California, we're used to being at sea level. So when we're not at sea level, it's a little bit different for us.
I guess, yeah, man. What are some of your favorite moments when in the studio?
When you discover a moment where something works a little differently than you thought it would, but you also like it, so you might change a part that you might have written a certain way. But when you're recording, sometimes you hear stuff differently, or a guitar chord could be hit at a certain time and sound differently. So sometimes we stumble across things like harmonies or guitar solos where there's harmonies, or maybe a vocal double part where the vocals get doubled. Uh, and those are fun moments because studios like where you can be creative. It's almost like being well, it is being an artist. It's like recording equipment is your canvas. So when you're recording, you can always try something different, and sometimes it works out better.
I see. Hopefully, this next one is able to be answered. I believe you DJ on the side. Would you like to talk about that and how long you've been doing that for?
Well, I did it for quite some time. I mean, I still do it. It just depends on what kind of a gig it is. Normally, I do this thing down in San Diego. It's called the Metal Swap Meet. It's the San Diego Metal Swap Meet, but everybody that normally goes calls it the Metal Swap Meet. And I DJ that, and I'll do that for like 6 hours. Like, and I before that years for in a row, like 5 years, I worked at the Rainbow on the Sunset Strip, the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and those were 4.5 hour sets a night. So you get pretty good when you practice that much. Like after a couple of years of DJing 4 times a week, 4.5 hours a night, I got pretty good at it. I love it. It's a creative thing though, but you also got to be smart as a DJ. Like if you're working the nightclubs, they're way different than DJing on the radio. And also, there's a lot more interaction with the crowd because the crowd can come up to you in a nightclub and request stuff. So it's and also you learn how to work a room. Like if you're in a nightclub, it's way different. Like I said, compared to being a DJ on the radio where you can't see the audience.
I get you there, man. For me, I have fun doing the internet radio gig because I've been doing it for 8 years. I know what some of my fans like to listen to. Like I get some brutal death metal fans that come in. Sometimes I get the thrash bands. Sometimes the grindcore bands. But I never know who's going to come in. So I do my best to mix it up from anything from heavy metal to thrash, grind, black, death. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally get that. I just pay attention to the audience, and that usually will tell you what you need to play. I mean, if you're working nightclubs, the club owners want the people to stay. So DJs usually are trying to keep people to stay. So they don't usually play whatever they want. They kind of play what the audience wants, and that's what you start getting used to. It's business at the same time, but I also have more freedom when I do like the heavy metal swap meet. I can play, you know, Bathory, and I can play Kiss, and I can play all this stuff that's heavy together, which would be differently if I was playing a more normal DJ gig.
I understand you there, man. At least it's what 8 questions still for this interview. I'm going to need a couple of station IDs from you after that.
Okay.
The eighth last question on the interview is: does the band have any social media platforms, and where can you be reached on them?
Yeah, we're on all of them because nowadays you almost have to be. Some we're stronger at, and you're gonna learn to get better at different platforms because there's always a new one, like TikTok or whatever. There's always a new platform, so you gotta change with the times, but you also gotta keep up your old ones. Like we still definitely do Facebook and Instagram, and I wouldn't even doubt one day somebody's gonna be, "Oh, Instagram's so old now," because they're saying that about Facebook too. But we do all of them. It's there's usually a hirax page, and there's or a couple, but you'll know the regular one because you can tell by the updates. Like if there's a post, all you gotta do is look at the post to tell you, like, if it's a week old or a couple of days old, means it's up to date. But if it's a few months old, that means it's not a legit page. So always just pay attention to the post. But yeah, we're on all those platforms. We're continually updating daily. It's a lot of work, but it's what you got to do because that's how people find out about stuff a lot more nowadays, by the internet. But back in the '80s, we had flyers and phone calls.
I get that part about the flyers and phone calls thing because I did 2 shows back in 2006. One of them was 666 here in Winnipeg. The other one was 2 weeks later, and I had to get my guitarist out of the picture because I was having issues not seeing eye to eye with her on the views of ours.
Yeah, I get it. I understand that big time.
Do you feel the band's gotten stronger over its 39 years of existence?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I'm the most proud of is that I wouldn't still be doing it. Also, I mean, I'm not delusional, so I wouldn't be still doing it if I felt like we weren't getting stronger. Some bands will basically beat a dead horse. But I mean, I think it's up to the fans. I'm sure there are some fans that can disagree with that because everybody's got different, opinions. But I think we continually get stronger also because we've never forgotten where we came from, and we still try to pay respect to the past of hirax, but we're also trying to move forward. I mean, that's why we still do new records. A lot of bands that have been around as long as us, some of them don't even do new records anymore. They just continually tour off of the old stuff. We still tour with the old records in mind, but we also do, half the sets newer songs. Like we still have the first 2 albums are in the set, but even up to date, we have a lot of the newer stuff in the set. So we're gonna keep doing new records and work hard to be a better band and not forget what we're doing. Like we know we're a thrash metal band. That's the difference between us and a lot of the bands that started out in our scene is that we've never deviated from being a thrash metal band, and we're damn proud of that. And we're going to keep doing it that way. If we want to do other styles of music, we wouldn't do hirax. We go do something else. But as hirax is, we'll do hirax the way it is. We've never done any covers. It's always been hirax original music. So we're going to keep doing that. And I feel very strong about this lineup and what we're doing. I think when people hear the new record, Faster Than Death, they'll get it. And then, they'll just keep snowballing. We'll be touring a lot. We're going to be going back out on the road, back to across the pond. We'll go back to Europe. We'll go back to South America. We'll do the U.S., the United States, and we'll try to get our asses up to Canada.
Right on. This next one is going to get you laughing a bit, but I feel it's a good one also. What changes or improvements do you think has occurred to the band over the years?
To just get better. I mean, like it's not dissing any of the older musicians when you say that. I just try to get better as a band and try to keep putting out records, which isn't easy. I mean, even between the last record, it's been 9 years. I don't want it to be like that anymore. I mean, we're already, besides this record being basically done, we've already started working on the second one. We're going to try to do two records in 1 year, which is very rare. You don't see a lot of bands do that anymore, but we'd like to do two records in 1 year just to show we can do it and make sure that they're still very good. So, just keep moving forward, work hard, show people that we're still relevant. Our music still kicks ass, and we still have the same attitude as we had when we first started out. We came from the underground. We'll never forget that. But it's great that the band's gotten bigger, and we're really grateful for all the fans that we have now. But we still remember that we come from the thrash metal scene from the 1980s.
Right on, man. Just so you know, before we get into the last two questions of the interview, I want to say thank you very much for your time today in this chat we've had.
Well, you're welcome, and I want to thank you for putting the time in to support this kind of music. I mean, it's you and us against the world, man. Like you got to remember, it's not just the bands. It takes people that are spreading the word about what we do, people that play in bands, people that put out fanzines and magazines and do their own radio shows. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have basically it's an information highway that helps get us our shit out there. So I want to say thank you to everybody that supports this kind of music. And we're just going to keep doing what we do, play hard, play fast, play till thrash till death, as we used to say back in the 80s. Just keep fucking doing what we do.
How long has the band lineup all known each other?
Well, I've known the drummer for quite some time, probably like 20 years. We just finally figured out to start playing together. We've been talking about playing together, but we just finally everything lined up to where we could. And it's a good combination because he's been around, I've been around, and we know what we're trying to do. He understands the music. When you get people that understand what you're doing, like there's always musicians, bands get together, but they're not always on the same page. The guys that I have right now, we're different personalities and we have different lifestyles, but when it comes to the music, we're pretty much on the same page. We discuss what we're trying to do. We're not trying to play disco. This is thrash metal.
I understand you there, man. For
Yeah.
myself, it's tricky because death metal is a little bit heavier than thrash metal, but it's hard to find the right musicians for that too.
Yeah. I think it's all preference. You got to find guys that love death metal. Like with me, besides Danny, who I've known for a long time, and see, Danny's capable of a lot of different styles. But I knew he would be amazing for metal. He could play grindcore. He could play blast beats. And then Neil, our guitar player, he's a thrash metal addict. Like that guy, if you looked in the dictionary and it said thrash metal maniac, it would have a picture of our guitar player. That's exactly what he's all into it. But he listens to a lot of different music too. So you've got all these elements of thrash metal with all these influences of whether it's classical music or noise music like Diamanda Gallus. He's got those influences. And our bass player, Chris, is the same way. He listens to a lot of progressive music and a lot of black metal and death metal, but he knows thrash metal. So to have all these elements together, included with my knowledge of being in the thrash metal scene from the beginning, it's a good combination.
Right on. That leads me to the second last question of the interview. And this one, you're going to clap at yourself again. You're involved in a documentary called Get Thrashed. How did this documentary with you in it come about?
That's a great question. You're digging deep in these questions. You must have done some homework. But that movie was put together a long time ago. I didn't even think it was going to come out because it was done and they had to get everybody to sign off on it, like Metallica and fucking Creator and Sodom and all these different bands had to sign off on it. We were easy. We were like, but some bands weren't easy. Like some bands wanted a lot of money to even be their footage to be used in it. So finally, the producer from the movie got everybody to sign off and it came out. But I remember my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, which makes it even more awesome. She drove me to this interview. They wanted to interview me in Hollywood. and my girlfriend at the time said, "I'll drive you up there." So she went with me, and when we got there, this is how long ago this interview was. They go, "We're going to interview you first, and right afterwards, we're going to interview this band. They're not in your documentary; they're in another documentary." It was MTV was filming both, so they were filming me, and they were filming this other band that was called the Black Eyed Peas. And I remember thinking, "Who the fuck are the Black Eyed Peas?" Because I didn't know who they were. So when they said, "We're going to film you," and then we're gonna film this band called the Black Eyed Peas, I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. But now they're like this huge band. But I'll never forget them saying, "We're gonna film you," and then this band called Black Eyed Peas. So that was the only reason I can remember it, because I thought the name was so funny. And then years later, I find out it's this band. But we recorded that in the Hollywood Hills, all that footage, and it sat for probably 2 or 3 years before the documentary finally came out. But once that documentary came out, everybody that had seen it was, like blown away. So it's really cool to be a part of that movie.
I understand that documentary. I watched it myself. My favorite part, besides you talking in an interview you did in there, was the part with Sodom. I've been a big fan of Sodom as well.
Yeah, they're great. Really cool dudes. Whenever we go through Germany, if they're not on tour, we see the guitar player. The singer, Tom, uh, Angel Ripper, amazing dude. Really, really cool dude. So yeah, Sodom's one of my favorite German bands. I like a lot of the German bands. Creator, obviously Destruction, Tankard, all that stuff.
Funny thing is, I saw Creator just before COVID hit here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I actually got a chance to see them. They were with, I believe it was Behemoth and one other band. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. That was
Yeah,
another good act.
right on. Good stuff.
That leaves us with the last question of the interview now.
Okay, let's do it.
What new band news do you have on the hirax front? As in anything we haven't covered so far in this interview?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of surprises. Obviously, we did touch on a lot of stuff. We touched on the German Japanese CD that's coming out. From what I know, there's only going to be 500 copies pressed of this rehearsal that we did, which now has become like our legendary rehearsal pretty quickly. I mean, it's funny when you think about how the internet moves everything way faster. Like back in the 80s, it would have taken 2 weeks to a month before a tape would have exploded like this stuff has. So, yeah, the demos, the rehearsal demos are coming out. The new record, we're working on that. That should be out soon. We're going to continue to work with, I don't know if I brought this up, but Armageddon Records, because they've just been awesome. Like, I mean, we've worked with a lot of labels, but the thing about Armageddon is they get us, they get what we're doing. We've been on bigger labels even, but not everybody understood the kind of music, because when you're on a label, say you got Hirax, and then there's a band like White Snake, that's two different worlds. Like, don't get me wrong, I even like White Snake, but Hirax is nothing like that. So when you're on a label like, say, Armageddon, that puts more care into that kind of a thing, like they get what Hirax is about. They've done great with these two reissues. I mean, look, the reissues even for me are still, I'm still seeing more reviews, and they're blowing up more and more. And it's like cool to see a record that maybe the first time around didn't get as much love as it's getting now. So with those reissues coming out, and to see them on the vinyl that they're on, like red and gray vinyl, they look killer. The red vinyl's insane. I mean, the gray's cool too, but there's something about red vinyl just popping out in your face. And then like going back on tour, getting back on the road, going back to every country that we've done before, and seeing them again. Also, we want to get back to the United Kingdom, back over to England. Just keep busy and keep putting out music. Basically our main thing is, if we can keep putting out the music with integrity and doing it our own way, then that's what we're going to continue to do. So we'll be around.
Cool. Now that leaves us with the two station IDs for this interview.
You got
First one is, hey, this is Katon of Hirax, and you're listening to Mangled Music Radio.
it. Okay, you ready?
Ready when you are.
Hey, this is Kate from Hirax, and you are listening to Mangled. What is it? Wreckage?
Music Radio.
Mangled Music Radio?
Yep,
Let me do it again.
no
Mangled Music
problem.
Radio. All right. Hey, this is Kate from Hirax, and you are listening to Mangled Music Radio. stay loud, and stay metal.
That's a keeper for that one. And the second one you can come up with whatever you wanted. It's for Craig's Metal Storm.
Okay, I think I can get that. Hey, this is Kate from Hirax, and you are getting your ears blasted by Craig's Metal Storm Radio. Stay loud and stay mega heavy.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the interview, brother.
You got it, man. We'll talk to you soon. Keep me posted. Send me a link when you get this stuff posted up, okay?
Yeah, I will do that, brother. Talk to you
All right,
soon.
man. You take care and have a great Sunday.
Yep, you too. Bye.
See you, brother.